What if you were told that QP, everything you know about our planet is a lie? What if entire continents harbor secrets capable of shattering your worldview? Our journey begins with the most distant continent, Australia, a continent whose mysteries audaciously challenge everything we understand about geography and history. Just imagine. From the very first moments of a careful examination of Australia, even the most unprepared person finds themselves overwhelmed by a cascade of questions that echo ancient unsolved enigmas. And, most strikingly, these questions, unfortunately, find no satisfactory explanations in official science. Shocking, isn't it? This doesn't merely point to gaps in our knowledge, but to the profound depth of concealment and the urgent need for reevaluation. Are you ready to peer beyond the veil of official truth? Australia's astonishing biological diversity is not just a collection of numbers. It is a living enigma, incredible but true. Over 85% of its fauna and flora are endemic, meaning they are found nowhere else on the planet. This uniqueness encompasses 8,600 non-plant species out of 10,000 or. Imagine this. It's not merely a living botanical phenomenon. It's a fantastic world, as if torn from the pages of a science fiction novel. Of 200,000 animal species, almost 90% live only here. This is unprecedented challenge for continental landmasses. And do you know, doesn't this biological isolation seem too perfect and flawless? As if it's the result of a deliberate rather than accidental evolutionary process? Australia's endemism is not just a natural characteristic, it is a blatant testament into the existence of a completely different biological world. We are witnessing a biosphere whose uniqueness could be compared to an exotic ecosystem, somewhere on a Jovian moon or in the nebulae of Alpha Centauri. Here, nature has chosen original, at times simply shocking, methods of reproduction: marsupials, egg-laying mammals. These unusual reproductive strategies, they raise most serious doubts. Could they have arisen by chance within the framework of the accepted Darwinian evolutionary paradigm? There is a strong impression that the local animals are the result of genetic blending. Artificial intervention show in their development in ancient times, as if somewhere beyond invisible barriers, or perhaps behind Australia's actual fences, an ancient laboratory was hidden, a laboratory that was millennia ahead of its time, where, in forgotten ages, large-scale experiments in genetic engineering were conducted. It was these that shaped the continent's unique biosphere. Australia's indigenous people, the Aboriginals, are keepers of ancient knowledge passed down orally through generations. For centuries, they have shared tales of mysterious creatures, bunyips, and other monsters lurking in the depths. According to their accounts, these creatures once lived, or still live, in the continent's waters and wilderness. What if these myths and legends aren't just children's stories? What if they are veiled memories of encounters with unknown, perhaps still hidden, species? Species that avoid contact with us? That can't be. What if these monsters are more than folklore? What if they are real entities who are spawned by mysterious processes or ancient experiments? It is in Australia that the planet's most dangerous animals reside. This adds an extra ominous note to our artificial menagerie. Such a concentration of dangerous species cannot be accidental. It suggests specific living conditions, or even deliberate selection for protection. Protection of what? The local ecosystems seem designed for the survival of the fittest, or perhaps for the protection of certain territories from the intrusion of external forces. Remarkable. The majority of Australia's population, over 85%, is concentrated in a narrow 50-kilometer coastal strip, as if people all fear or avoid venturing into the central, abandoned parts of the continent. The entire remaining vast territory of the continent is, in essence, abandoned and cordoned off from people. This defies any logic of a populated continent's development. This abandonment of the interior regions raises most serious suspicions. Suspicions of the presence of certain forbidden zones there, or dangers unknown to the general public. What lies hidden in the very heart of this continent from which people flee to the ocean? And now, let us turn to the most monumental testament to Australia's mysteries, to the Great Australian Fence, or, as it is officially called, the dingo fence. At first glance, it's an ordinary fence, but you will be astonished. Its scale, construction, and functionality go far beyond merely protecting against wild animals. It is the largest fence complex in the world. Its construction began back in the 19th century, and it continues to be maintained to this day, at colossal, simply unbelievable expense. The total length of the fence is an astounding 5,614 kilometers. Just imagine. That's comparable to the distance from London to New York, or from Lisbon to Moscow. Such a length is, in itself, an anomaly. It has no equivalent among fences designed for animal control, whether in Africa or the Americas. For whom was this monumental fence truly built? In some places, the fences are under high electrical voltage. Sometimes they are powered by autonomous solar panels. Let me share a secret with you. Why spend such colossal state resources on electrifying and autonomously powering a fence supposedly only meant to control dingoes and rabbits? The height and strength of the fence's construction also raise questions. They significantly exceed the requirements for protection against small animals or even large livestock. The official government version, brace yourselves. These towering fences are necessary to protect agricultural lands from wild dingoes and introduced rabbits. Supposedly, rabbits, lacking natural competitors, have become a particular threat to the ecosystem and farming operations. This version, it does not stand up to scrutiny upon closer inspection. It merely provokes a sarcastic response. Yeah, right. Typical for concealing the truth, isn't it? In some places, you can even find a double row of fences. This further casts doubt on the rabbit theory and hints at a heightened level of security. 2 rows of fences, spaced some distance apart, they create a semblance of a buffer zone, or a specially guarded border, a border impenetrable to intrusion. And most importantly, the constant presence of paramilitary guards in off-road vehicles actively apprehending and detaining those who attempt to cross the forbidden boundary speaks volumes. These aren't just farmers protecting their livestock. This is a structured, well-equipped security service operating under military protocols. Is this truly a fence against dogs and rabbits when violating it carries real prison sentences and enormous fines, sometimes up to hundreds of thousands of dollars? The scale of punishments is disproportionate to pest control. It rather indicates the protection of a strategically important asset or information of the state's secret status. From satellite imagery, the entire territory of Australia is clearly and unnaturally divided into several artificial sectors by these mysterious fences. Such sectors resemble restricted access zones, controlled experiments, or exclusion zones, but certainly not natural land use. The absence of any logic in the arrangement of these sectors from the perspective of natural landscapes only heightens our suspicions. From whom or what does this monumental fence truly protect, if not from animals? Research initiated in 2009 revealed a striking ecological paradox. It is linked to these fences and completely refutes the official narrative. It turns out the fences, instead of providing the claimed protection, create most serious problems for local wildlife. They disrupt the natural balance of the continent's ecosystems. Well now, an astonishing discovery. The local diversity of small marsupials, reptiles, and plant life is much richer where dingoes are present. This occurs because of dingo competition with kangaroos, whose numbers they regulate, as well as their role in controlling foxes, a natural mechanism. Dingoes, contrary to the official version, are not pests. They are apex predators, a vital element of the ecosystem. And their isolation leads to its destabilization and species extinction. The fences, therefore, do not protect. Quite the opposite. They create an imbalance, destroying natural food chains and the biodiversity of entire regions. This imbalance threatens local species that were supposed to be protected, which renders the official explanation meaningless and utterly false. So what then? Despite the proven harm to the ecosystem and their complete ineffectiveness in their stated goals, these grandiose fences continue to be actively maintained. They are constantly repaired, expensive power supplies are paid for, and no expense is spared on paramilitary guards and regular patrolling. This indicates the true purpose of these structures has absolutely nothing to do with ecology or livestock protection. Far more adequate and effective methods of protecting livestock from dingoes have long been known, implemented, and used worldwide. But for some reason, they are ignored here. Consequently, it's not about ecology. It's about something far more significant that the authorities strive to hide from the public behind this fence. What is the true nature of this secret? A secret that justifies such colossal expenditures and draconian measures which make no economic or ecological sense. These are questions to which official sources prefer not to provide answers, leaving room for deep suspicions and the boldest conspiracy theories. Several articles online citing the authoritative Smithsonian magazine report an astonishing discovery, a discovery that challenges official history. A former assistant to the legendary Arthur Conan Doyle, a friend of explorer Sir John Morrison, was found to possess a whole collection of strange photographs. These images captured anomalous objects, inexplicable structures, members of unknown tribes, exotic animals. Not found in official catalogs. According to some sources, these photos were taken in the Amazon jungles, according to others, on the island of Sumatra, which already speaks to the widespread occurrence of such anomalies. However, a significant portion of researchers lean towards the idea that these are unexplored places within Australia itself, hidden behind a veil of mystery and impregnable fences. These photographs, dating from the early 20th century, predate the era of digital technology and certainly artificial neural networks. But modern interpretation attempts to explain them as falsifications. This is a convenient way to discredit any inconvenient artifacts, to declare them products of modern technology, even if it is historically impossible. Is it merely a coincidence that all controversial evidence is so conveniently dismissed as fakes? The landscapes in the photos appeared so fantastic, and the images of people so unusual, so crudely rendered, that suspicions about their authenticity immediately arose. Modern neural networks, capable of depicting in detail things that never existed, added fuel to the fire of discussions about fakes, casting a shadow over historical finds. For example, one photograph depicts a certain mound and, strikingly, a flying object with a humanoid. Upon reducing the contrast, unreal, distorted human figures emerge, like a jumble of blobs without clear facial features or hands. This sparks heated debates. This strangeness could be both evidence of forgery, as skeptics claim, and a testament to the imperfection of early photographic technologies, or the savant peculiarity of the subject matter. In another photograph, under high magnification, a mishmash is discovered in the foreground instead of people. A mishmash lacking clear outlines and anatomy. This only intensifies the doubts. The image of a caveman also causes controversy. After all, modern neural networks can generate any random yet convincing face of a non-existent person. So, what then? Are these photographs a skillful forgery, designed to mislead, to distract from genuine mysteries, or are we facing real evidence? Perhaps these are images of real places and living beings, still hidden from us behind the Great Australian Fence and inaccessible for study. But even if we assume that someone deliberately created these fakes, it doesn't mean there are no deep undercurrents in the topic of Australia. On the contrary, potential fakes could be an attempt to divert attention from genuine mysteries, to sow doubt and to halt further, deeper investigations. It's a classic disinformation tactic to mix truth with fiction so that everything appears to be a hoax and thereby discourage the search for truth. The fact that these photographs were discovered in the possession of an assistant to such a renowned writer and explorer lends them particular weight, despite all the controversies. It's not inconceivable that Conan Doyle himself, known for his love of mysteries, might have been aware of such anomalies, and even used them in his works. Why has this been kept hidden for so long? And what forces prevent us from seeing reality? If the fences have been installed and maintained at a state level for over 100 years, if the prohibition on crossing exists more for people than for animals, then what is the catch? What exactly is being so carefully concealed from us behind these monumental barriers? justifying colossal expenditures and efforts that are unparalleled globally. Perhaps this fence functions like in the movie Divergent, preventing ordinary citizens from learning about the existence of another isolated civilization beyond its borders. A civilization that lives by its own laws, hidden from our world, possibly with different technologies or a way of life that must not be revealed. Or does this enclosure, similar to the concept in the movie The 13th Floor, hide the true edge of our world from people, or the boundaries of virtual reality? Where does our accustomed reality end beyond this fence? And where does something entirely different begin, incomprehensible to our consciousness? Sensational. It's not out of the question that this is the Truman Show wall, behind which some creators sit and observe our lives live as a grand experiment on humanity. All these scenarios, which once seemed merely products of fantasy, are beginning to acquire ominous logic and plausibility. In light of the collected facts and anomalies, these hypotheses, bolstered by historical and geographical oddities, demand serious consideration. Not just dismissal as conspiracy theories. We are simply compelled to delve into the history of Australia's exploration, to find clues buried in archives and old maps, perhaps deliberately forgotten or distorted. Just imagine, what if this fence is merely part of a more complex defense system, whose purpose is to prevent certain entities or technologies from leaving a restricted zone, or conversely, to prevent people from entering this zone to keep its secrets untouched? The films mentioned in the context of the fence might have been prophetic or a veiled way to convey part of the truth to the masses. A careful examination of ancient world maps reveals astonishing facts that fundamentally contradict modern understandings of geography. It turns out that Australia was originally not considered a separate continent, but part of a mysterious southern land, closely linked to Antarctica. On maps by great cartographers of the Renaissance, such as Gerard Mercator, one can often find the inscription Terra Australis Nondum in the south. This designation, roughly translating as not yet southern land, or simply southern land. It indicates uncertainty, but also a connection to the south. On Pierre Duval's map, it is identified as Terra Australis, southern land, which, notably, crosses the so-called Antarctic Polar Circle. Such designations suggest that cartographers of the 16th to the 18th centuries possessed a different, perhaps more complete, but subsequently lost or hidden understanding of the geography of southern latitudes. In the 18th century, the explored lands of modern Australia bore the name New Holland. This indicated European colonization of only a portion of the continent. But even then, its southern and southeastern contours were not precisely defined, as if they were sketched for completeness or deliberately left unexplored. This inaccuracy is strange considering the high level of detail in the depiction of other continents on the same maps. This points to selective exploration. It hints at a possible lack of full exploration of the southern coasts, or a deliberate concealment of their true configuration from the public. Even more astonishing is that 100 years later, on 19th century maps, we see the same undefined coastline in southern Australia. This doesn't seem like progress in cartography. It's more like stagnation or deliberate misinformation over a long period, despite advancements in navigation. Compare the detailed coastline depicted on the west and east of the continent, full of bays, capes, and coves as expected, and in stark contrast, an ideally straight line in the south. Absolutely no detail, no settlements, as if it's not a natural coast but an artificially drawn boundary. This phenomenon, the absence of major settlements on Australia's southern coast, persists to this day and has no logical explanation. Google Earth, as if to divert attention or create an illusion, sometimes depicts a cluster of small towns with a few main streets in this area. But upon attempting to use the Google Street View function, it turns out these are just isolated stretches of road photographed in deserted areas. These towns are nothing more than an illusion that could have been photographed anywhere across Australia's vast expanses, not being full-fledged settlements. A logical question arises. Why does no one live in the south of the continent? And why has this vast territory remained so empty and undeveloped for centuries? Are the harsh natural conditions often cited as an explanation truly so specific to this particular part of the continent? Or is there something else keeping people away? You'll never guess. Perhaps Australia isn't a separate continent, as official sources would have us believe, but a gigantic peninsula, naturally transitioning into Antarctica. This hypothesis would explain many cartographic anomalies, and the unfinished or retouched areas in the south, which are connection zones. It would also explain the lack of infrastructure development and settlements along this border, which must not be crossed. An astonishing fact supporting the connection hypothesis: Australia is the only continent without a single active volcano. This is anomalous for a tectonically active planet, unless it is part of a larger, stable platform extending southward. The absence of volcanic activity could be a key to its geophysical position relative to other continents. In southern Australia, there are snow-capped mountains, where significantly more snow falls than even in the European Alps during peak ski season. For example, the snow-covered slopes of Mount Kosciuszko in winter in New South Wales. They are striking with their alpine appearance and deep snow cover, uncharacteristic for sunny Australia. Who knows? Perhaps somewhere in these snow-covered mountains, a secret passage to Antarctica is hidden, accessible only to the chosen few or long forgotten by civilizations. This could be either a natural or an artificial path, connecting two separate continents into a single whole, serving as a hidden corridor. Investigating these mountains for anomalies could provide a key to understanding the entire structure. Are our maps simply misleading us? Let's move on to another striking anomaly concerning international air travel. It raises profound doubts about official geography. Aircraft flying, for example, from Santiago de Chile, South America, to Australia, always choose a route that passes over the ice of Antarctica. Allow me to ask, what is the problem with flying the direct, shortest path from point A to point B, without this strange, clearly arc-shaped trajectory passing over hazardous regions? Such arc-shaped or even triangular trajectories are constantly observed in other international flights worldwide, as if they are circumventing invisible barriers, as if planes are forced to bypass invisible barriers or restricted zones, not marked on ordinary publicly available maps and navigation systems. These deviations from the shortest path on a spherical Earth model are among the most compelling proofs of hidden geographical truths. Why has this been hidden? Why do airlines, striving for maximum efficiency and safety, choose longer and riskier routes? Perhaps it's because we incorrectly position the continents on our conventional distorted maps, and the reality is different, and that's why it seems illogical to us that the route to Australia passes through Antarctica. Although on the true map, this is indeed the shortest path. Why would an airline operator travel extra kilometers, expending fuel and time, and in such a risky and unpredictable region as Antarctica? The risks of flying over Antarctica: low temperatures, strong winds, lack of alternate airfields, evacuation problems, should compel avoidance of this region. The only logical explanation: this circuitous route on a spherical map is actually the shortest on a true, perhaps flat or different map of the world. Is it not because Australia is not an island but part of Antarctica, protruding closer to the equator and therefore not as cold as its main part? This would corroborate the hypothesis of a geographical interrelationship between the two continents, which is deliberately concealed from humanity. The distortion of aviation routes is direct evidence that the official world map may be incorrect or incomplete, concealing the real geography. From whom or what are they trying to fence off the airspace over certain regions, such that even planes cannot cross them? This indicates the existence of restricted zones, not only on land but also in airspace, which makes the conspiracy even more extensive. Our investigation would be incomplete without delving into another, no less sensitive topic: the topic of Antarctica, a continent of eternal ice and eternal mysteries. This continent is shrouded in secrets and oddities no less significant than Australia's, which allows us to speak of a global conspiracy of information concealment. The name Antarctica or Antarctic originates from Greek. It translates as opposite the Arctic, opposite the north, emphasizing its polar position. Regarding air travel, there are also questions here, and the most important of them is, Why do planes never fly directly across Antarctica? After all, it would be a much shorter route than all sorts of detours across half the world, but it is categorically avoided, even by cargo and military flights. We are told it's too cold there, strong winds, harsh polar conditions, and a lack of airfields for emergency landings. This raises even greater suspicions. However, as we've already noted, planes can fly over the coasts of Antarctica when traveling from South America to Australia, performing risky maneuvers. This contradiction makes the prohibition on transcontinental flights over Antarctica's central regions even more suspicious and illogical. If you also believe something is amiss here, this only intensifies suspicions of information concealment of a strategic or even existential nature. Perhaps it's all because Antarctica isn't quite a continent in the usual sense, or are its shape and size distorted on official maps? And if it's not like that, then what should the true map of our Earth really look like, so that it doesn't lie about the sizes, shapes, and positions of the continents? Perhaps something like what is seen on the emblems of the UN, WHO, and other international organizations. These emblems often depict the Earth in an azimuthal projection centered on the North Pole, where Antarctica is not shown as a separate southern continent, but as a ring of ice encircling the world. Such official maps from international organizations might be a subtle hint at the Earth's true shape or configuration, or they might demonstrate a non-spherical but flat or some other model of Earth. Hidden from the general public and from school curricula. A question arises: what compels world powers to maintain this global lie about our planet's geography for many decades? And why is Antarctica the central link in this cartographic disinformation and global concealment conspiracy? Does this prohibition conceal something so fundamental that it could change our entire understanding of the world? Let's turn to the account of a man who visited Antarctica as part of one of the 20th century's most enigmatic and short-lived expeditions. We are referring to retired Rear Admiral Richard Byrd. His words shed light on deeply classified facts and the expedition's true objectives. Operation High Jump, a large-scale U.S. naval expedition to Antarctica organized in 1946 to 1947. The official goal was the exploration of the continent, but the true motives could have been far deeper, military, intelligence-related. The expedition, comprising 13 ships, numerous aircraft, and over 4,700 personnel, was unprecedented in its scale. The operation began on August 26, 1946, and concluded in late February 1947. It lasted only about half a year. Well now, most intriguingly, it was cut short by a full 6 months ahead of schedule, officially, due to the early onset of Antarctic winter. But what truly compelled the American military to cut short such a costly, meticulously planned, and large-scale operation? In haste? In his interviews given after the expedition, Richard Byrd hinted at the existence of unexplored land that would appeal to adventurous young Americans. He stated, "Oh yes, it exists, and not around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded there now. Everything has already been explored and divided." He continued, "Because they found that it is not only suitable for habitation, but also militarily, it is a strategically important region for any state." Byrd's most shocking statement. Today there remains an area in the world the size of the United States that no human has ever seen. And this territory is located beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. This indicates its hidden location beyond visible boundaries. His words about an astounding thing at the bottom of the world, where many adventures still remain, sound like a harbinger of a monumental discovery, a discovery not accessible to everyone. It appears that beyond the geographical South Pole, according to the Admiral, there exists another, vast territory, not charted on publicly available maps. This territory, by his description, is habitable or suitable for life, which completely contradicts with notions of a glacial desert. How? How can such a large landmass, the size of an entire country, be located on a spherical Earth, if Antarctica, according to the official version, has long been explored from all sides? This fundamentally calls into question the accepted model of the Earth as a sphere, hinting at alternative geophysical form or additional continents. Byrd's statements about a secret territory challenge all of modern geography, cartography, and cosmology, demanding a complete reconsideration. Does this imply that the Earth is not quite a sphere? Or not a sphere at all, as we are accustomed to thinking, but has a different, more complex configuration hidden from us? Byrd's speech, full of ambiguities and mysteries, still sparks fervent debates among researchers who reject official explanations as untenable. His testimonies are pivotal for understanding the global scale of information concealment and the true nature of our world. Perhaps the hasty cessation of the operation was not due to weather, but to the discovery of this very secret territory, or its inhabitants, or even a conflict. And this information was so shocking and dangerous that it was decided to immediately classify it at an international level, to prevent panic or war. Some theories suggest that Byrd's expedition encountered advanced technologies or beings that could pose a threat. This explains the sudden cessation of the mission and the shift in policy regarding Antarctica. Furthermore, Richard Byrd in his interview mentions the discovery of vast coal deposits in Antarctica, which represents immense economic value and a source of energy. He states, Antarctica was once a subtropical continent. And this radically alters the understanding of its geological history and the possibility of life. An astonishing fact, the Antarctic coal deposits, according to him, are not covered by snow, making them easily accessible for extraction and exploitation. The presence of such vast and easily accessible mineral resources, he argued, should have made Antarctica the subject of fierce territorial disputes. As has happened and continues to happen with the Arctic, where there's a struggle for resources, sea routes, and geopolitical influence among nations. However, shocking. Relatively soon after Operation High Jump in 1958, the Antarctic Treaty was signed. This treaty, which came into force in 1959, declared the continent res nullius, no man's land, for all eternity, closing it off to ordinary citizens and resource exploitation. What could have so quickly and effectively united competing powers, including ideological adversaries like the USA and the USSR, in an effort to seal off an entire continent? This is an unprecedented case in world history. When such major players agreed on complete neutrality and inaccessibility for such a valuable territory. According to the treaty, no one except scientists and military personnel can be in Antarctica. This creates strict control over the territory and its secrets. The only exceptions are rare tourist trips, which are strictly controlled, confined to specific zones, and do not permit free movement. We observe a similar situation in Australia, where everything is done to prevent ordinary mortals from accessing the continent's restricted territories, again, officially, for the protection of local flora and fauna. But the true reasons could be much deeper, pertaining to information concealment. Perhaps they are hiding not only natural riches and mineral resources, but also traces of a previous civilization that thrived there during a tropical period. This treaty became an international wall, similar to the one in Australia, but on a global level, isolating an entire continent from the rest of the world. It deliberately conceals from humanity vast landmasses, their resources, and possibly ancient knowledge capable of changing our world. The closure of Antarctica to the general public is one of the most powerful proofs of a global concealment conspiracy. No other continents are subjected to such strict and widespread restrictions, which makes Antarctica a unique object of study and secrecy. There is suspicion that the true reasons for the treaty signing are related to a threat or discovery that could destabilize the world order. Were not certain technologies or forces discovered during Byrd's expedition that could be used for military purposes or against humanity? Answers to these questions could reveal the true nature of the Cold War and the cooperation of superpowers in matters of secrets. Right. What exactly did they find there that compelled the world to unite in keeping this secret? The presence in Antarctica of unexplainable objects of regular shape, clearly of artificial origin, confirms the hypothesis of an earlier, highly advanced civilization. For example, in the middle of a snowy plain, there is a series of pointed figures, whose geometric precision is completely at odds with natural landscapes. These figures have angles and shapes too precise to be the result of random natural processes, such as erosion, snowmelt, or wind action. And here's a Shunt pyramid. It is located in Antarctica, according to Google Maps, at specific coordinates 79 degrees 58, 39, 25, S81 57 32, 1. W. This object isn't just similar to the Great Pyramid of Giza, it has the very same characteristic grooves on one exterior wall, which is a unique architectural feature, and, possibly, such grooves are present on all other walls as well, suggesting a shared construction technology and cultural influence extending across different continents. However, there is one important fundamental difference. On the Giza Plateau, each side of the pyramid is 230 meters long, whereas the southernmost Antarctic pyramid sides reach a full 2 kilometers. This surpasses the Egyptian one in scale by several times and raises questions about the purpose of such a structure. This gigantic pyramid testifies to the astonishing construction capabilities of an ancient civilization, capabilities that surpass our modern understanding of the ancient world. If the wall construction of these structures is similar, it implies that the time of construction and the functional purpose of these buildings were approximately the same. This points to a possible direct connection between the builders of the Egyptian and Antarctic pyramids, or a common source of knowledge and technology. By the way, do you know who else remembers that the pyramids at Giza were originally covered by many meters of sand, concealing their true appearance for centuries? This parallel between the sand at Giza and the snow cover in Antarctica suggests similar processes of concealment, or the oblivion of great structures and civilizations. What else is hidden beneath the ice, awaiting its hour? Here are more photographs of the pyramid in Antarctica provided by eyewitnesses, by those who personally sailed past during authorized expeditions. These stunning images, if authentic, are irrefutable proof of hidden structures beneath the ice, accessible only to a select few. Another object was discovered in early 2018. And upon magnification, it's clear it could not have appeared by chance. Due to its distinct non-geological forms and precise geometry, this object bears clear signs of artificial origin, making it an anomaly in a natural landscape where such objects should not exist. However, now on Google Maps, you will not find more of these ridges. They are either removed or retouched, or their coordinates are altered to conceal the truth. This is further very clear evidence of a deliberate data concealment and manipulation of publicly available information accessible to everyone, beyond the strange objects, visible or already retouched on satellite maps. There exists a truly shocking collection of old photographs. The precise origin of these photographs online is difficult to establish, which artificially generates debates about fakes and diminishes their credibility. Some researchers believe these photographs were generated by artificial neural networks, which serves as a convenient explanation for their discredit without genuine analysis. These images are usually attributed to participants of Rear Admiral Byrd's expedition, which gives them immense historical value and weight. Despite the doubts, in the photographs one can see not only pyramids, but also ruins of ancient cities. Roman-style buildings, majestic columns, monumental statues, clear Caucasians are depicted, which fundamentally changes the understanding of Antarctica's ancient population and its history, refuting the theory of its uninhabited nature, as well as petroglyphs on cave walls, attesting to writing and culture, which absolutely contradicts the official history of Antarctica as a barren continent. A similar collection of photographs exists, but it is attributed to the Terra Nova expedition led by British Captain Robert Scott in 1912. Many believe that the authorship of these photographs also belongs to artificial neural networks, which is yet another attempt to devalue potential evidence. Here, for example, we see statues of people from some unknown civilization, like ancient deities or rulers carved from ice or stone, and here, stone ruins of some ancient city, reminiscent of the grandiose structures of antiquity, lost in time and beneath the ice. In this photograph, if one adjusts the contrast and brightness, a second, smaller pyramid can be discerned, hidden in the landscape, possibly part of a larger complex. Even more photographs of discoveries in Antarctica, available via links in the description, hint this is not a hoax, but our reality. Their considerable number, as well as their similarity to previously mentioned images, rather point to the authenticity of these testimonies and their historical significance. If these photographs are not the result of skillful Photoshop or artificial neural network work, but real footage, then everything falls into place. Then one can infer why Antarctica was so hastily closed off to curious onlookers after the expeditions and turned into a protected zone. It's clear that the guardians of Antarctica are concealing from us unknown pages of our past. Fundamentally altering perceptions of humanity and its development, they are hiding new, unexplored human territories, which, it seems, were known to the special services of Germany, the USA, Great Britain, and the USSR. It's not impossible that even during the construction of their new Swabia, the Germans left significant traces in these places, utilizing ancient knowledge or technologies found there. These testimonies point to the possible existence of secret bases or cities, hidden deep beneath the ice, or in warm oases within the continent, or to the fact of an entire network of ancient structures whose purpose remains a mystery to this day. Studies by scientists who examined borehole samples near the Pell Island Glacier, 2,000 kilometers from the South Pole, discovered traces of a swampy coniferous tropical forest. This astonishing discovery confirms a tropical climate existed in Antarctica relatively recently, perhaps only 1,600 years ago, not to 90 million years ago, as official geological chronology asserts. This is a colossal discrepancy in time. This conclusion is based on the presence of pyramids, very similar to those of ancient Egypt, which establishes a timeline, as well as on the theory that historians, starting from the 15th century, deliberately pushed the ancient world further back into the depths of ages. They added extra thousands of years to the dating of events and structures to create an artificial distortion of the timeline and conceal the truth. This was done to hide the continuity or simultaneity of various ancient civilizations, separating them. This means, relatively recently on a historical scale, a civilization lived in Antarctica. This civilization, most likely, was either a contemporary of ancient Egypt and Rome, or even their predecessor. Possessing great knowledge. It possessed advanced knowledge and technologies, capable of erecting such monumental structures and surviving in a changing climate. Apparently, the Antarctic people had a deep cultural and possibly even genetic connection with the wondrous world of Australia. This explains the astonishing similarity between the mysteries of the two continents and their isolation from the rest of the world. And they knew something shocking about the past of our Earth. Something that is now diligently concealed from us by powerful forces. This knowledge could concern the true history of humanity, its origins, or even the nature of Earth itself and the cosmos. All video materials, photos, and research represent fragments of a grand mosaic, which we are yet to assemble. Disparate facts combine into a single, frightening, yet simultaneously captivating picture of the world. Historical distortion, a central element of a global conspiracy. A conspiracy to control information and consciousness, the discovery of a tropical forest and pyramids in Antarctica, completely rewrites history and geography textbooks, rendering them obsolete. This implies that our civilization is much younger than we think, or that other, older but forgotten, highly advanced civilizations existed. The connection between Australia and Antarctica is likely not only geographical, but also cultural, possibly even civilizational and technological. Ancient maps, anomalous flights, mysterious structures, these are all parts of a single, meticulously concealed narrative, which awaits its hour. What if legends of Hyperborea or other ancient continents lost in time have a factual basis in these restricted lands? What was the nature of tropical Antarctica? And how could it disappear so quickly by geological standards? Perhaps the catastrophe that altered Antarctica's climate was linked to the demise of this ancient civilization, and not merely to natural processes. And traces of this catastrophe, as well as its culprits or saviors, are also hidden behind a veil of ice and secrecy. This forces a reconsideration of the lost civilizations concept. and to seek their traces not only in deserts but also beneath the ice in the most inaccessible places. The history, we are told, is merely a convenient, censored version, designed to maintain a certain order and control. Who are the forces interested in concealing these ancient truths and in controlling our knowledge, our reality? Perhaps those who signed the Antarctic Treaty already had access to this information and decided to use it for their own purposes, for power. Or they feared that the disclosure of such information would lead to global chaos or a paradigm shift in worldview. To the end of the era of lies.